there, everyone. You're welcome to another exciting episode of Family and Society Talk Show. I want to say a big thank you to you, our viewers, for finding time to join us today. My name is Elizabeth Samsedi, and I have a guest host with me in the studio today. His name is Mr. Sylvester Laurie. He's a resource person. Hello, Sylvester.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, and I've told her to add pastor in my name.
Okay, don't worry. Next time I will do justice to that.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Today we are going to be looking at African parenting culture. You agree with me that you know how we are African parents, how solid and strong we are, how we bring up our children very solidly on how to face the future, how we tend to bring up the boy child, letting him know that he's a man and he needs to behave like one, he's the head, and he shouldn't subdue himself to a woman and all that and all that. Yes, that's not my focus of discussion for today. Our focus of discussion today actually is on the girl child. The girl child, yes, that is a lot of focus is upon. They teach her from a very early age on how to become a wife, how to become a mother, how she's taught how to multitask, how to do the house chores, how to go to the farm, how to do a lot of things. But one, education. There is this limits of parents, African parents limits the girl child. Yes, as far as they are concerned, she's trained to multitask and do a lot of things except education. They tend to keep her at home, away from school. And funny enough, the kind of world that we are in, it is called broad-day slavery. This is actually called slavery because I don't see the reason why the male folk, the boys, should be encouraged to go to school and get educated. We're in a digitalized world. If it remains like this, the girl child does not get educated. How is the girl child going to be able to be a part of the developed and digitalized world? Sylvester, what's your take on this?
It's the rate at which this is going now. It's becoming very, very like a pattern in Nigeria now. Very within some tribes, I don't call names, where the female child is really marginalized, and it's more like you don't invest on her because you will not get anything in return. So it's becoming worrisome.
But is that true? That if you invest in a girl child, the woman, you don't get anything in return?
So the way it works, it's like there's some families. So let me use an example. You have a budget of 10 naira and you have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. So most people rather will say, let me invest in the boy because the boy will actually come home and take my name. So they look at you investing 10 naira in the girl. If she goes to school and she graduates, she's going to get married to another person. So your return on investment will not come. But no matter how bad it is, my 10 naira will obviously come back from the boy. So those are some factors that people actually see, and it's just an example. But in all stands, in all organizations, there's just more emphasis on the man.
But looking at parenting, the pattern, the style upon which our parents, African parents, use in bringing up the girl child, do you think they are doing it justice? So do you think it's right?
I would say it's a 60, 70, 30. It favors a lot of African parents. It favors the guys 70%. The 30% is only the educated parents. Parents are exposed. Parents have seen life different. The parents understand that there's no gender biasment inside. So it's a 70-30 thing. Probably when we talk more, this is also another need to make them understand that a male child and a female child is actually, they're like the same thing. And we've seen cases where we've seen a lot of female women excel more than even the male.
Oh, definitely. Yes. A lot. So, it's amazing to see that, in Africa, what we do, we are very good at imitating the white man in every area, every aspect of life, in politics, in economics, and in every other area. But what it baffles me to know that it's rather unfortunate that we don't imitate the white man when it comes to the girl child education.
Yeah, so a lot of people copy.
Why are we not?
Yeah, they copy what favors them. You understand? They copy the white culture that is beneficiary to them. But for some strange reason, it's just in an African agenda, men are just superior. It just has this men just have this superior, especially black men, sorry to say, they have this superior quality, like they want to dominate. So so over time with programs like this, you understand, we'll make the younger ones coming up now, okay, there's no superiority.
Yes.
Like all over the world now, is what you have to offer that they employ.
Do you let me even bust your bubbles? In Africa, Sylvester, do you know that this issue of betrothed your child, a girl child, to a man is still in existence? Parents betroth a girl from birth. An innocent child knows nothing about whoever it is they have betrothed her to. She will grow up knowing this, and it must be so. Even if eventually she gets of age and the parents pass away, it must be so. It's tradition. These are some kind of tradition. Then there's another part of Africa where once the girl is between the age of menstrual age, between the ages of 9 to 12, once she has started flowing in menstruation, they marry her out to a man. Even if the marriage lasts 3 months, it's fine. Just for her to meet, for the man to meet with her, and afterwards she can leave, and the parents take her overseas to work as a domestic worker. It's tradition in that country. It's happened till now. It's happening. Then another one is dedicating them to gods, to shrines, and to serve whatever. Imagine a girl is born with prospects, with dreams, a young girl, and you decide that, okay, this is the family, that's what your forefathers did. You have to continue the trend. They dedicate you, go to the forest or somewhere and just useless, pardon my language, frustrate rather the life, the future of that girl. These are some of the, parents are not contributing. What do you say?
It's really alarming, and while you were talking, I just thought about it that it's actually this. I'll ask our guests when they come in. It's actually a woman that carried child for 9 months.
In fact, finish up so that before we begin to ask and answer the question, we have guests.
Okay,
we actually do have guests, yes. And we're going to go on a short break. When we come back, we'll bring in our guests that will help us dissect this topic, African parenting culture. Among the girl child is the view, that is what we are reviewing today. Just stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. Thank you. Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned. We have our guests. We have actually 2 guests with us in the studio today to join in this discussion. First, on my right, like we always say, ladies first. I have with us Dame Joanne Oji. You're welcome.
God bless you.
PhD English language.
Yes, PhD.
She's a mother and a grandmother.
Yes.
And I'm expecting great grandmother.
Exactly. Welcome.
Thank you.
Then on my left, I have Mr. Ernest Okedu.
My pleasure.
I wanted to be sure I got it right. From the University of Abuja, he's a public commentator and analyst of national issues that concern the nation.
Yeah. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, so we are talking African parenting culture, where our focus is on the girl child. I'll start with you first. Your take. How do you see this whole girl child inequality, bias, lack of education in we are rooting it back. We are looking at the foundation from the home, from how the parents bring up the African girl child.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
I am, by definition, an African girl child. And interestingly, I gave birth to a girl child up to 8 times.
Whoa!
Without twins.
Wow!
Without any hitch whatsoever. Having said that, I will start by saying the African girl child has been treated like a second-class citizen traditionally, though that is changing. My father gave birth to 5 of us, my elder sister and myself, and the 3 brothers born after me. Sadly, all of them are dead, except me, because the war affected us. And so I came to see myself. I cannot be a nobody. I have to actually make people know that Peter Opareze, my father, has 1 child left, and that's me. But because of the African culture, I don't bear his name. So people who hardly know that my father has 1 child left. Until I go home and then I begin to introduce myself. Truth is that the African girl child has no identity except the identity of the person she marries. But all that is changing. The reason being that we, by God's grace, are believers. And when God created them, he said male and female.
Right.
If the man was so self-sufficient unto himself, there won't be a need for the woman.
Yes.
And after creating the woman, God saw that the man had companion. And that's what I keep telling people. Marriage is first and foremost for companionship. When children come, they are added advantage.
Right.
If they come as girls, thank God. If they come as boys, thank God. If they come mixed, thank God. Sadly, from where I come, if you've not given birth to a male child, you are regarded as you haven't given birth to a child at all. And I used myself to prove them all wrong. You see, I had my children early. When I stopped, a lot of my age mates had not married. But I decided, enough. We're not going to adopt, we're not going to steal, we're not going to buy. Because these are things people do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Where do we have baby factories if there
Right.
are no patronizers?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So the girl child has been regarded as nobody until the Beijing conference of 1995, when Hillary Clinton, First Lady of America, chaired the conference that established women's rights. And since 1995, the world has known that the girl child matters as much as the
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mama, for that intro. Yes, sir. So I would like to have your view on the topic of discussion.
Let me just lend my voice to what you just said. First and foremost, I would like to look at it from the context of who is a girl child. It is better we just let the viewers know who is a girl child. In my own view, or from my own definition, I see a girl child as a child that is below 18. The age of 18 is regarded as a girl that is not up to 18 years. It's a girl child. Now, looking at it from the Constitution of Nigeria, a child is regarded as a child when he or she is below 18. But from the cultural perspective, we look at a child, particularly a girl child, between the ages of 1 to 13. That is how we look at it. Now, coming to the issue of how a girl child has been guarded or has been taken within the Nigeria African context, I wouldn't say that the girl child has been treated fairly. I wouldn't say that probably because of where we are coming from. There is this concept that people try to quote and unquote what they call a girl child as a dark child. I don't know whether that people have heard about it. And if you try to dig deep, why that particular word, that caption, a dark child, it connotes so many things. You look at a girl child as a girl that is not equal to that of the men counterpart. And again, they try to create, looking at it from the cultural perspective, the culture where we are coming from gave them an image that does not really reflect whom a girl child is. They gave them a very false consciousness.
That's the African now.
Yes, from the African perspective.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, and again from the angle of the patriarchal point of view where we are coming from, there is that dichotomy, there is that discrimination between the male and the female. African child has over the years, and looking at it from the cultural perspective, has not really, well been treated. They have not treated them fairly. There is always this perception that the men, are always superior. There's this the ideology that the men will always dominate. So they've not really given African child, they've not given them the position where they're supposed to belong.
Right.
So to me, in some way, they've not really been treated well. They've not given them the position that they deserve within the context of Africa, particularly, especially where we are connected, the sub-Saharan Africa we are connected.
Thank you so much. Looking at the home, the family, from where education commences in every child, when parents are bringing up children, the way a girl child is brought up is totally different from the way a boy child is brought up. Do you agree with me?
Sure.
Of course.
Okay. When in a proper typical African setting, early morning they wake the girl child up while the boy will still be in his room snoring and sleeping. Go to the stream, go and fetch water. You have to sweep the house. You have to do all the house chores before morning. Ensure that food is cooked before even your parents wake up in the morning. According to them, they are teaching you how, training you ahead for your future on how you should go to your husband's house. When the male child will be chilling, even up till dates. There is this thing that it is the girl that does the house chores and the guys relax. I want us to throw a little bit of light on that.
You are right. At least growing up, I was housemaid to a lot of madams on occasion of my father dying during the war. And I could tell you, this discrimination against the girl child. The girl child is synonymous with housemaid. You hardly see male house help.
Yeah.
It's always the house.
Yes, very common among.
So the treatment is like this small male child that have come to carry is more important. You'll be fed first, bathed first. When it's church time, they will buy a new dress for him.
Yeah.
In fact, in my church magazine, I wrote an article. Someone said this should be a national conference. That you can tell house girls in church because they are clean shaven, they wear bathroom slippers, and the children they are carrying have ribbons on their heads and all the decorations. Just say if you are in this church and you are not living with your biological parents, stand up and you see. And the people treating them like this are women like you and me. So the maltreatment of girl children growing up, even in going to school, mothers who knew no better, because if they knew, they wouldn't. But they had been brought up on this patrilineal society.
Right.
So they would not take, don't you know that you're a girl? I go and get water and then they will now call junior or whatever they call him. I come and eat. I said I was one that broke that rubbish when my grandson came tall like and he was just looking at her. I showed him the kitchen, the stove and the fridge. I have food here, so you go and learn how to prepare breakfast. And I gave him a prawn.
Yes.
So as he turned his back, what do you think he went to cook? Indomie, the cheapest one. I took a picture of him and sent to his father. His father said, I can't believe that he went to cook. I said, he will starve in my house. The reason being that he had house helps cooking for him.
Yeah.
So the Igbo, I speak for the Igbo, I don't know about. The boy child is a king. And so he will have to go to school. Because even if you send the female child, the school will end up in a man's house.
Okay.
And that is what is changing now from your perspective.
Exactly. I would like us to talk about the modern day slavery of the girl child. A young girl being taken, just like
Yeah,
you
just
Shana
said
said, to be a domestic worker, when she should be in school. I like you to say a little more like that.
Okay. Of course, it's a trending issue that should I take it aback a little, but I think it's something that has been trending and for quite some time the girl child has been taken, within that angle of a maid, so to see. Most of them, as they're growing up, especially, let me look at it from the maybe financial aspect of from the background, the parental background. Most of the parents may not be well to do, and they are left with no option than to send those children as maids or as servants. And I think that is what really gave birth to this modern day slavery.
Sex slave.
And yes, if you look at it, that's now, you can look at it from different diversities. Apart from being met, it will snowball into, other aspects. Early marriage, sex exploitation,
Yes.
sex abuse, and so many things, because those young girls, many of them were sent at a very tender age.
Child trafficking
You
and
know,
all that, yes.
they send them, and if you want to believe me, it's a real fact that the person that, let's assume you are sent to somebody at the age of 10. So you discover that throughout the time you are growing, the person that raised is that person that trained you. You are no longer within the custody of your biological parents.
Right.
You're supposed by right, supposed to nurture you and treat you and train you the way you ought to be trained. So fortunately, you are given out as a house help or as a, whatever they call it. And the same woman, the person that you are giving, will be the one that will take care of you, that will, parent you.
Right.
So it is whatever thing the woman, I'm talking about the quote unquote mother, gives you is what
You get accustomed
at
to.
the end of the whole thing.
That's true.
So that is why some wicked ones, there are some people, some of the foster parents or whatever, some of them are wicked. They will end up using you. Either some of them that doesn't have this human sympathy, they may just end
Without
up
considering going to
exposing you, into so many, bad aspect of life. Some we even send you into hockey. You see many girls that hawks around today, and those children that were not with their real biological parents.
Right.
And when they get to the village where they were, when they were trying to pick these children, they will make many promises, empty promises, that when they take them to the city, that they will train them. But they end up, turning them to become hawkers, sex slavery, and all manners of things.
And most times,
the husbands to those abuse them. So these are some of the problems, some of the inherent problems that are associated, to this modern child slavery today.
Right. At this point, thank you so much. At this point, we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we shall be looking at some of the factors, as far as this challenge is concerned. Stay tuned. We'll be back shortly.
Hello, viewers. I am Clement Patience Onyeche, aka Princess Clempa, the CEO of Younglings Family Foundation and the CEO of Younglings Magazine. Here I am to call on all and sundry to keep watching Family and Society Talk Show day in, day out, and always subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also share to every one of your families and friends to always watch our program, because it's promising, it's educating, and it's entertaining. I love you all.
So you're welcome back and thanks for staying tuned with us. Like I said earlier on, we're with our mommy, the king of girls, and our able, let me call him daddy too. So I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
In the beginning, your opening speech, you were saying that growing up, you rendered help to a lot of your aunties and uncles, and there was this way you could differentiate the help from the real parents, child or whatever. Now, moving forward, you understand, it got to the time where you were also leading in church and you saw the same thing happen to you in the past. And we're talking about girl child. So it's supposed to be women helping women.
But it's not.
But it's not like that. Are you now is it a thing of because I suffered, you must suffer the way I suffered? Because this is in the church where we're supposed to be holy and whatever. So please can you shed more light on that? Are women really the problem of this girl child the suppression, or it's a general African mentality?
I want to say boldly that the mistresses are guilty and they are the ones perpetuating this discrimination. You see, nobody was born to be a maid to anybody.
That's the women themselves, the mothers.
Yes, the mistresses of the abused house helps
Okay,
are
alright.
narrowing to because
Okay,
of this
this
question.
question. Right.
You see, nobody was conceived to be anybody's house help. It's an
Sure.
accident of birth.
Right.
That somebody is born prince and royal family placed on salary since his birth. He didn't choose. And another person was born in
Kwanga.
you are talking of Akwanga, BSG of Kubwa, who was delivered in a hospital where a midwife took delivery and grew up knowing nothing but abject poverty.
Poverty.
It's not by choice. But what is amazing is that people go to church and hear all the sermon, and we have good preachers in this country, and they will still go back and practice this wickedness. But let me exonerate my family because having gone through this, I warned my children, nobody will carry your own children and leave your house without a degree. So we have graduated 3 house helps.
Nice one.
Congrats.
Nice one.
One is working, one is going for
That's
service,
a good one.
and one just graduating, hasn't been called up. The truth is this: we love education. It is not their fault that they are not able to get from their parents.
True.
But we are blessed to be able to afford them. So I attended convocation ceremony of house helps and I felt good.
Thank you,
That's
ma'am.
good.
Thank you, ma'am.
So
I'll just add to that.
let me just add something. I think to me, I will see from I see it as a personal thing, as an individual thing. You know, some person, I just like when he said, there are people, you know, that have good hearts. You don't see these discriminations within their family. In fact, our visited families, you won't even identify who is a maid and who is the real child. They have equal right.
Yes.
So I see it as individual things, and again, you know, I only see it as societal creation. You know, people try to create out, you know, such behavior. You know, I believe that people that exhibit such characters, because it's a happening thing. It's been happening all over. I have witnessed, you know, issues of this nature. You know, I see it as maybe someone that doesn't have good heart. You know, some people may see it, but I don't want to use the word wickedness. You know, it will be very something very, very odd for a woman. You know how painful for, you know, you want to give birth. And you now feel that the other child was not giving birth by another woman. And for you to start maltreating such a child, I think I see that something very, very emotional and wickedness.
Thank God we don't have more time. Yes, I'll probably come back to that since our program is about family and society. So we'll probably get a day out to talk about house helps because it's a very, very complex thing. There are also people that have treated the house girl well and they turn back at them.
exactly.
But that's straight
True.
for another day.
Yeah.
So we are here for today's topic. So I
Yes.
think please you need to bring them back and talk about the game.
Okay,
So
yeah.
let's look at some factors that actually affect this girl child, early child marriage. What really makes them so I've listed that I'll just maybe share the questions. We just talk about problem, address it, and come to a solution.
Right.
And let us be also very realistic.
Mm.
So there's poverty,
Yeah.
there's street hawking,
Mm.
there's early marriage, there's insecurity, there's literacy about parents, there's religious beliefs. Now, so for example, let me now say, okay, I'll take poverty for example. Now, when the parent is poor,
Mm.
most of them now see their children as assets. Alaji wants to marry my
Mm.
daughter. He's paying 10 million for one child, and I have 6. So I can sacrifice one and
keep
train
the
the
five.
5.
Yeah.
One might have the 5, one might
Mm.
become a doctor,
Mm.
so we sacrifice. So that's the things I want us to look at. So I'll start with how do you marry poverty? You take poverty and street hawking. Also, street hawking too can also a result of most of these people hawk to bring money home. Most of them hawk to go to school.
And in the process of that hawking, they could get kidnapped or
Yes,
raped.
of course. So,
or one abuse
so
or the
I
other.
want to shed more light on that and how can it be?
You see, I've lived in the north now for nearly half a century. And I can tell you that culture, religion, tradition have so much to do with
Okay.
what you
Yeah.
see. Yes. Hawking in the north of Nigeria is a natural thing for girls. But what is no longer acceptable in the reality of women's rights being the same as human rights
Yeah.
is that people, knowing that public education is almost free at the basic level, will still prefer that their children will hawk for them and marry one Alhaji who is ready to pay. It borders on ignorance. Because nobody who has ever gone to school will not appreciate that literacy helps. Now let me give you an example. Before I retired, there was this Fulani girl that used to serve nono in our office in Uses or 7. Binta used to bring nono, and I just liked her neatness, and I would patronize her. Then suddenly Binta stopped coming. It was now the mother, and I was looking at the mother and said, what happened to Binta? Binta is now married. Binta is now living in town. Where is town? Dube. What happened? You see, Binta attended nomadic education under FCT and could now read and write and speak a bit of English. And the town Fulani, you know, there are 2 classes of Fulani. The ones we call town Fulani and the cattle Fulani. A town Fulani man, the civil servant, just came and married her off. She has like 5 children now. Do you see the difference that education has made in the life of Binta? So people should know that poverty will never go away until we get education and the empowerment that comes with it. A woman who has basic education, even if it's up to primary 6, is better off than somebody who's never been to school. Sadly, we see that that's not happening. And when you try to make it a national debate, you will see somebody say, in my religion, once a girl is menstruating, is mature enough. You don't want to hear underage. You don't want to hear minor. They are not going by chronological counting of years. Okay. So that's what is at the root of this poverty and illiteracy tied together. It is not favorable to the girl child anywhere in the world, but most especially in Northern.
Right. So, you know, even the United Nations is very, very worried about this girl child challenge that is going on all over the world. There's something from the UN that is called Vote Against 8.7 that they have, created to like handle this modern day slavery in a girl child ongoing. All right, because they believe that the UN Sustainable Development Goal cannot be achieved if there is no solution to this modern day slavery of that the girl child is experiencing and facing. So bringing us back to the factors that as far as this topic is concerned, the challenges of this African parenting and culture. I want you to look at the early marriage, challenges of early marriage and religion beliefs. how they contribute to this challenge that we are talking about.
Very good. On the issue of early marriage, there are two factors I would like to attach to it, which is culture and that religion. These are two main factors that gives birth to other factors. Because looking at where we are coming from, the African context, we sub-Saharan Africa generally, we belong to, a society that is attached to culture and traditions. We hold our norms, this tradition to a very high extent. So the culture, the vast cultural practices among Africans, particularly in Nigeria, is one major determinant factor, that shapes or determines early child marriage. Now, and that mentality has been there. It helps them, in their growth and the process of their socialization. Now, coming back, let me just give you some instances. Like, for example, in the North, we discovered that early marriage is something that is tied to religion.
Right.
An average or outside person, let me use, based on their religion, they believe that at the age of 15, 18, once a child has started seeing her menses, is the right for marriage. So all those factors, that's religious factor, to a very large extent has contributed to early marriage without looking at, the nitty-gritties, without looking at the advantages and the disadvantages. So there's that belief that, once this is what the religion say, because that is their belief according to the religious, practice and their belief, that once a child gets to that, she is due for marriage. So the next thing is to give out the child for marriage. So religion is one major factor, one major contributing factor that has determined early marriage, especially in the northern part of Nigeria. Though we may not really see much of it in the southern part because of the nature,
Even
that
though
society.
It
It happens actually,
yes.
but it is not as visible as that of the, what is that, tenable in the northern part of the country because of that religious belief.
Yes,
It's
it
something that
happened
I can give you a lot of examples. All of us are in this country. I don't want to mention anybody's name. You are here when a senator picked up a minor. We have so many of them, even within where I live. I know of one little girl, I don't think that girl was up to 15 that time, but she was given out for marriage, based on that religious belief that they believe. Now, coming to what other factor I say there, the culture, it is still, has to do with the culture of the people, the belief system. There are people, even within the southern part, that believe today that once a girl gets to this age or whatever, she is ripe for marriage. They want to follow the cultural pattern, the norms, the tradition. Everything boils down on their belief. So the culture of the people, to a very large extent, determines the marriage of a girl child.
Okay.
So these are some of the issues that shape
to follow up what you have said, what about, there are some scenarios where looking at parents, maybe poverty, poor parents, and it gets to a point, probably they have 2, 3, 4 children in school, and they feel they don't have, it gets to a point they don't have the finances to be able to have all of them in school. Why is it that it's the girl child that is first considered to be the one to stay at home, and even if there's a tendency that she's more intelligent or smarter than the male, than the boy, but it is hard, they will say, stay, let your brothers go to school.
Very, very good.
Yes.
Very good question. Let me just make a little input in that. You see, everything still boils down on our culture, our belief, our mentality. In Africa, let me just come on, within Nigeria, is a very, very common factor and a very common mentality that we have, that let the men do first. before the female.
Like
It has been there.
my guest
It
host
has
had
just this,
earlier
they don't have,
emphasized
yes.
that they feel that the girl child does not have a
Yes,
stake.
yes.
There's no,
Right?
there's no,
Th-
there's
is
no
that
return on
why?
investment.
Exactly what
Yes.
you said is what I'm just trying to
Yes.
reiterate again. That mentality that we have, one, is the head of a male child is much more needed. If the father is no more available or around or died, he will take over, be the head of a woman will be given out for marriage, who takes care of the family name or whatever. All those things are contributing factors. And just like he pointed out earlier, what is the girl child bringing back to the family? And what is the male child bringing back to the... So they consider that male child will bring back a lot than the female child.
So
Okay,
I
do
would
you
say,
know why I'm laughing? Do you know why I'm laughing? But do you know that statistics have shown that it is the girl child actually that has that love and care of the parents much more than the boy child?
Let me just say this. Honestly, to me,
Do you
personally,
agree?
Of course. In fact, today, if you look at what is happening in the society, you discover that the female child, the girl child have done. In fact, have done more. If you carry out a research,
Yes.
within what is happening, in our societies, in our family, you discover that the female child have even, contributed more than that of the female.
okay, I'll ask mommy it's same question. But mommy, I don't want you to be biased here. If you same scenario that plays, you really have, there's culture, there's poverty, and there's religion. It gets to a state, normal scenario, be sincere, and you have 5 children. You have 3 boys, 2 girls, and you have to send one to school. Give me one reason why you will choose the girl child over the boy. If all of them have the same ability of education, they all have the same ability to learn. Why will you choose the female child
To stay home.
Why will you choose the female child to stay home and you have to send one than the male child?
In traditional society, because it doesn't happen anymore, not in my family anymore. In traditional society, the idea is, like he said, the girl should be the maternal assistant, helping the mother. A girl child is supposed to be domesticated. Secondly, traditional society was afraid that going to school will corrupt the female child. I keep telling my children, boys don't get pregnant. As wayward as they may be, nobody catches them. But as soon as a girl gets pregnant, the damage is colossal. And boys are walking about with venereal diseases, it doesn't show. And they are spreading it doesn't show. So sometimes the parents who actually restrain the girls are actually more concerned about the girls spoiling.
Oh, the mind is yes.
Yes, but for me
Makes
now,
sense.
for me, when I said I am a child wife, I married under 18. But my own was pure rebellion. That maltreatment by madams brought out the rebellious character in me. And since my dad had died, and my mother couldn't cope, everybody now thought I was just being difficult. Why don't you go and stay with people who will put you in school? And I said I will not. Or I get married. And I did.
Okay, so
That's how I married at 16. And this said to be 50 years.
wow.
I'm
Okay.
writing on it.
Right. Lastly, on this segment, before we go on our next break, I want us to look at illiterate parents.
Like mine.
Parents that are illiterate, shouldn't they do all they can to ensure that they have enlightened children, that their children get educated? Mostly mothers.
My mother was one. I am sorry my mother died before I made it. Because one thing she lamented till she died was her not going to school. And since I showed signs of
Interest,
brilliance,
yes.
not just interest,
Yes.
signs of doing it and getting right, she was just like popping.
She encouraged you.
But it took long. You don't mention multitasking. Imagine I was married, having children and studying, because I married with primary 6. So people keep wondering. In fact, some people assume that all my certificates were bought because they can't remember when I wasn't having children and working. And that's the story I like to. Do you get?
Yes.
But it is not the same gift. Some women are just content to be housewives. Once their husbands can provide all they need.
But what about if it gets to that point when the husband is gone before?
Mine has been gone 16 years, but if I don't tell you, will you call me a widow?
That's because you were enlightened.
because
You went to
you
school.
were-
You got
Equipped me.
educated. That's because you
Equipped
got
me.
educated, assuming you didn't.
He equipped me for life after his gone.
Exactly.
And here I am. When I tell people, I say, do I look like a widow? They say you do.
Your story sounds very, very
Interesting.
touching, interesting.
Yes.
Like it's almost like
The story is
Let me-
there.
let me
I will
don't-
publish it
let me
this
don't-
year to mark 50 years.
let me don't say it doesn't sound like a bad story, it sounds like a fairy tale. Your story sounds like get married like mommy at 16, leave school, you get your PhD, you become a great grandmother, and then so you've gone through a lot of challenges. But I want to ask one them. Was the husband a supporting factor?
If he wasn't, we would have fought and I would have gone back.
So obviously, so
Yes,
that's enough. So
He was a good man.
yes.
Good.
So he's also
Can
an
we
example.
add to that before we go
He
on?
was a very supportive man.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Very
the one,
important.
yes. You
You
know how
should
to
have succeeded.
Yeah.
In that is
He
so
used
much.
to-
And again,
Yeah.
again, let me just chip in this.
Yeah.
Yes, your husband, and depending on the type of husband
He
you
was a
have,
good man.
you understand?
Right.
It's not all husbands that we want. You know, we have the African mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not how can I send my wife to
Right.
school, especially
my fine
some
wife.
states like
at
Anambra.
18, you'd have been really
Yes,
pretty, so you want
some
to
states like
and
Anambra
meet young
you
boys.
understand what I'm saying?
Mostly
Like
the
in
insecure
Igbo land,
ones.
that of Anambra people, you know, with their mentality. Let me just say, some of them wouldn't want to like send their wife to school. They feel that if I send my wife to school, she becomes wiser than me. You know, that inferiority
They are
complex.
like, I provide everything for you. What do you
Just
need?
take whatever thing, since they have the money. So they feel that sending her to school now like they'll start acting
You
shoulders
need to
with
rush
them.
your
My
down.
husband so bragged
one
about me. He
aspect.
made some men
So, but
jealous.
let me call it chipping this based on what
Yes.
you just asked
Yes.
as regards women.
Yes.
I think you said
Yes, illiterate parents.
illiterate parents,
Yes.
you know, who are not sending them. Yes,
Educating their children.
yes. Illiterate parents is one of the determinant factors. You know, poverty
Yes.
is one of the determinant factors. It's not all parents, you know, that may have that passion
For education.
to, you know, to send their kids. Let us not forget the environment we are coming from. Environment matters so much to all these things. Where you are coming from determines where you are going. Some parents,
Absolutely.
depending on where they are, some of them are in the remote village who has not known anything about
And
education.
also, do you know that I've seen illiterate men that educated their wives?
Yes, of course, of
Exactly.
course.
Yeah.
Of course, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
It depends on, it's an individual thing anyway. So you don't expect such parent who lives in the village has not been exposed, you know, to maybe city lives or anything about to equally send their kids to school.
Okay.
You know, they want to end up there. Let me equally said, although some parents have this flame, this passion to send their kids, just like she said, you know, my own mother, let me use my mother as an example why we are growing. My mother did not enter school for one day, you know, to read and write. But right from beginning, our father died early, but she was determined that all of us must be literate. And
You
let me
see?
give the gospel truth. All of us, she did everything, you know, she could to send all of us. Today, at least we can, both that we can read and write.
Okay.
As we graduate today by the
Okay,
special grace.
thank you so much. We're going on another break, and please stay tuned. We'll be back very shortly.
Okay, you're welcome back. It has been an interesting topic, although time is not on our side anymore. We'll just round up now by asking our guests possible solutions. Yes, and how can we make this right from your own perspective?
Right.
Thank you for the question. You see, our parents from of old have shown the kind of individual differences we are witnessing. If we are talking of empowering the girl child, I can tell you of a man, a father of 5, 3 daughters and 2 sons. He's so passionate about those 2 older girls that he has paid me hundreds of thousands of naira to mentor those girls on creative writing. I had to ask what about the boys. He said, I want the best for my daughters. And those are the men that I admire. Because it takes 2 to produce both boys and girls.
Right.
Now, from my background, my father was stark illiterate, just like my mother. In fact, my father was a palm white dapper. I had injury that made me not to go to school. My father carried me on the shoulder to school until the wound healed. And while he was alive, he died when I was 11, which I remember because he would take me to the traditional orchard and be showing me, I planted this kola tree. This one is not my own, this one. Even though he knew I was a girl,
Right.
he was showing me his possessions because the boys were born after me. So that got me thinking. My father really believed that I was the older child and should show the boys when they came of age. How many parents today even tell their children how much they are worth? I married a man who kept showing us his paycheck. And today I don't have any secrets. When I retired, I told my daughters, I've retired. I paid 25,000 pension. And they say, how can you pay 25,000? I'm telling you people. What he did to them was, we are going to support. The car you see me driving, my daughters and their husbands bought. So people look at us and say, see Mrs. Sochi yesterday driving a Jeep. What we are saying is that we can change the narrative.
Right.
We can make the girl child queen. And though some of my daughters have only sons, I've warned them. Don't raise boys who will maltreat women. They will not find anybody to marry.
Right.
It's as simple as that. Train them not according to strict Igbo culture. Train them according to Christian culture. And they will appreciate whoever becomes their wife. And you will not have daughters.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Ernest.
Let me just add, I think there is a very big, that gap need to be bridged, between the male and lot of the women folk. There's need for every Dick and Harry to come together to build that gap. Now, looking at it, I'll take it from maybe 2 perspectives. The government have a lot to do in bridging this gap. So there's a very big gap between these 2 genders, that of the female and that of the male. And again, the issue of there should be proper advocacy among NGOs like what we are doing. It's very, very important. I recommend that. More and more advocacy on the rights of a girl child. And again, taking it home a little bit, there should be cultural reorientation.
Yes. Reorientation, I like the sound of that.
Reorientation. People should know that women, let's leave that attachment. She's a woman. She has nothing to contribute. I disagree.
Right.
Let's see women as the way we see, their male folks. Women can do the way men. After all, if you go to many professions, the women are excelling.
Everywhere.
We have so many of them. They're excelling. It's just that our mentality here, within the African context, that woman cannot do this. But as to me, I think we need to change that orientation. Women can do better. Women can do it. Women can become president of. We have so many who are president, except in Nigeria. I think we try.
We will get there.
A woman will be the president of
Yes,
Nigeria. And governors,
Yes.
So there is need for a reorientation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, my guest host, Mr. Sylvester Lorry. Also, I would like you to tell our viewers what you think your possible solution to this challenge we're talking about.
I feel we should just look at one solution. Look at the male child and the female child as equal. Although not women still need to be domesticated, like mommy said.
Right.
It's your role.
Absolutely.
Men too have to be responsible.
Right.
Exactly.
So everybody have your boundaries.
Mm.
You don't come on this side and you don't come on this side.
Play your role, I play my role.
and
Balance,
make
get
it
a balance.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the solution.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
the
you.
even for education to parents too. Balance it.
Right.
If you are CS, if you are paying too much attention on this male child school, pay same attention to the female child school. There is no issue. Like when we say if you're the first child, give the first child, whether male or female, that respect.
Exactly.
Don't bring a child of 2 years old
Yeah.
because a boy and you to intimidate
Yeah.
a female child that is 25 years old and make her that's her
And
own.
quickly, let me just say this.
Go ahead.
This issue of stigmatization,
Yes.
I mean, should be totally erode.
Mm.
Or they should be eroded completely because the girl child has been stigmatized over the years that she's, and especially those who are, males. She's a male. That stigmatization has not really helped a lot. So it's something that needs to be,
Stigmatization
Yeah,
of putting them
stigmatization.
behind and the back seat
that,
and making them second-class citizens.
second-class citizens. Those things need to be, expunged.
Thank you so very much. Lastly, normally on the show, we have a question we ask every guest, as it's being a family-oriented program. What is that one thing you can remember of your parents? Either your mom, your dad, or both of them, either a kind of counsel, what is it that you can vividly remember that they used to say to you that you grew up with? And even right now, as a mother and a grandma, you tell your children the same thing.
Praise God. My mother, as illiterate as she was trained by the Methodist Church in vernacular, and she memorized half of the hymns she sang and psalms. So I grew up listening to my mother reciting psalms depending on what she wanted. And today I can tell you, I love psalms. And because she believed that, she had this saying in Igbo, I'll translate, that business enterprise is good if done with the fear of God. Ịzụ ahịa dị mma ma ewere eziokwu na egwu Chineke na-azụ. That is good to be enterprising, provided there's truth and fear of God.
Thank you.
I have grown up fearing God more than pastors, because you can say anything before a clergyman to please him.
Right.
But I'm conscious that there's someone who is watching, who is listening, and who cannot be fooled. And that has shaped my life. And I'm
Thank
grateful to
you
my
so
mother.
much, Dame Joanne Oji.